2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
Nailed it.
Nice. Well, hello. Welcome, one and all, to 2414. My name is Shane Welter.
Hey, I'm Pastor Dan. I like one and all. Is that our new intro?
Sure.
Welcome, one and all, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, boys and girls, animals and amphibians, and creatures of all alike. I don't know.
You think amphibians aren't animals?
They are. I don't. I'm just spitting off the top of my head here.
Just like we rehearsed.
Just like we rehearsed. And in theme of an idea we took too far, our next series we're getting into, we kind of just made the title up on the spot. Pastor Dan said it was a great idea, so we're calling it Theater in a Church.
That's what Shane just told me.
Yep.
So here we are.
So we're talking about theater stuff. We're talking about musical stuff. And today we are joined by the one and only Tammy Fossett. Thank you, Tammy, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And
Before we do highs and lows and question of the day, Tammy, do you have a title with this production, with this show? Or is it an informal title?
I'm sure Loretta has a title for me.
For you? Okay. All right. I know she has a title.
It's assistant.
Whatever. To the regional manager.
Yeah, assistant, stage manager, assistant director, assistant to Loretta.
Okay. All right.
I do whatever I'm asked to do.
All right. We'll be hearing from Loretta in another episode. But Tammy's here. Thank you for being here, Tammy. And Tammy's part of the fall show here at St. Luke's, which we'll talk all about in a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll get well into that. But we like to start each episode with highs and lows and a question of the day. And today's question of the day comes from a viewer recommendation. And they said we should ask, what is your batting walk-up song?
Ooh, walk-up music.
So yeah, what is your walk-up music to bat?
All right, I got it.
So Pastor Dan seems confident, so I'm going to throw it over to him to start things off.
All right. Well, yeah, I had an idea. It's my go-to answer for that, but
okay.
I don't know if it makes as much sense anymore.
No, it makes perfect sense.
All right. So lows and highs. My one low I've been feeling this morning is too many goals, which means not enough focus or courage to say no to things. That there's just a lot I care about. And I want to do things well, and I can't do as many things well as I want to. And so I wish I was doing different things, or maybe not different, more things. And then I enjoy doing an activity, but then I have the regret of not doing another activity that I also enjoyed. It's kind of buyer's remorse, just that decision fatigue and the opportunity cost of saying yes to something means saying no to something else. And then the thing I said yes to, I enjoyed in the moment, but all of a sudden I enjoy it less when I think about what I didn't do. So I'm just kind of feeling that in life of internally pulled in too many directions. Big high for the week, Albert Pujols, 699, 700.
The bad man won't go away.
Oh, man. So he has been a great baseball player for a long time. Cardinals drafted him in 99. I remember it was maybe 2001, I was driving across the country from Virginia to California for college, and I think that was the first time I saw him play live. And just this skinny little Dominican Republic kid out there, and
skinny.
Even then you're like, there's something different about the way this guy swings a baseball bat. So celebrating with my kids and St. Louis and Cardinals and just baseball fans in general. He's a good guy to do a good accomplishment. That feels good. So Albert Pujols is my high for the week. My walk-up song, so this was kind of a running joke, at least in my own head. Nobody else laughed. First several years of my pastoral ministry, I wore that black clerical shirt that pastors and priests wear, the black shirt with the white tab. Mm-hmm. And so Back in Black just felt like I always joke like that should be like my Good Friday, Easter Sunday walk-up music. As I'm getting ready to go into church, like I kind of nod at the tech guy and point, and they cue AC/DC. Back in Black, and then I walk in.
That would be epic.
So it just sounds epic. I'm wearing my black suit.
It's not enough rock songs as walk-up music.
Yeah,
nowadays.
I thought you meant like in church. So I'll talk to our worship director about that. Yeah, so me wearing my black clerical, Back in Black, strutting down the aisle, getting ready to throw down with some good news. It's getting worse. Shane, you please take it away. Lows, highs.
Well, on that note,
what's your walk-up song?
You talking about early Albert Pujols reminded me of it's not really a low, but last night I was watching Brewers highlights from like loudest crowd reactions and stuff, and I was watching all the highlights from the playoffs in 2013, whatever it was, and like I just remember like I think I was like a freshman in high school, and I was like, this is the year Brewers are gonna win it all. And then we met the Cardinals, and then it was just this hard fought series, and it was so sad.
A 9-year-old low.
Yeah. Oh, I was just watching the highlights, and I was like, man, I've seen all these players, and I was like, oh, this is so nostalgic. So it's not really my low. Well, it's kind of a low remembering it, but I guess my real low is just similar to you, just feeling very kind of like pulled and stretched thin as we get into the fall season. So a little tired, a little goofy, but
you are rocking your Green Bay Packers shirt today.
I am, and that's a good segue transition to my high. Packers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
and Tom Brady,
and just Tom Brady in general. Yeah, so that's an absolute win. It was a thriller watching it. Had recorded it and watched it back home, and the ending was very, very close, but they won. So that's a fun high.
Congratulations.
And walk-up music, I said it, and I never gave it thought, but I was just kind of thinking of something real quick. I like to do something just goofy for like walk-up music, and with that, I would think Weird Al. So I think I want to do Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al.
What is Dare to Be Stupid a parody of?
I think it's an original, one of his originals.
He doesn't do originals.
He does. He does plenty.
I saw the trailer for the new movie. It looks amazing. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen. I just saw the cover art, but even so, it looks amazing.
I haven't seen a movie in the theaters since Frozen 2, and that's its own story. But this, and my wife several times like, we should go see this Top Gun 2. People talk about it. I was like, yeah, I'm sure it's great, but whatever. But Weird Al. I might be there. Yeah.
It's a song. I don't know. It's just a stupid song.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd say that.
That's new information for me. Tammy, lows, highs could be from your day, week, month, last 7 minutes if you want. And what's your walk-up song?
Well, my low would have to be over the last several months. We're remodeling.
Good kind of remodel or bad kind of remodel?
Good kind of remodel.
You chose to do it. It wasn't water damage.
No, we chose to do it. Master bathroom, complete remodel, master closet. And so it's one of those things we chose. Had I time to think about it again, I would probably do it all over again. There's just so many decisions. I don't know if you've ever remodeled anything.
No.
It's difficult. And then not living, we want to remodel our kitchen too later on, and now I'm having second thoughts because we've been without a bathroom, master bathroom. That leaves us only one bathroom for 4 of us. It hasn't been. So it's been a low. It will be a high in about a week, but
so you're like at the finish line, basically.
At the finish line, yes. Okay. At the finish line.
And do you have contractors? Is it you? Is it friends owing you favors?
My brother.
Okay.
Nice.
Who is a contractor. But because he's family, he isn't full-time, and yeah. So a 3-week project is now going on week 8.
Yeah.
But it'll all be good. Like I said, it'll be about a high in a week. So okay. I'm glad about, yeah. But it's intense. I mean, just the colors, the choice of tile, whether it's going on the floor, or the bathroom wall, or the counter, or what kind of mirrors, what kind of, I mean, so many decisions.
That's assuming everything goes right during the remodel.
In stock, and yes, we've had to change so many things just because of the whole supply chain.
I wouldn't like any of that, Tammy. Mm-hmm. Those are the kinds of moments where I tell Charlotte, you care more than me, and if you're happy, I'm happy. There's no scenario where she likes it and I don't. That scenario doesn't exist. If it's good enough for her, it's certainly good enough for me. And so those like, hey, we'll go pick tiles. Maybe I'll just take the kids to the Mariners game for 6 hours and you pick tiles. Maybe your sister would like to. She's good at that. That's kind of how we divide that at home.
That you would survive wonderfully. You would do great. It would just be without whatever you were remodeling at the time that you have to live with. But
what if Charlotte picked out some like Dodgers wallpaper for your bathroom?
I don't think she would. She's got class.
All right.
I trust her, I guess. So that's a significant sustained low.
Yeah. High of the week. I actually just celebrated yesterday 25 years with the company that I've been with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So a company called True Blue. It's a public company in Tacoma, headquartered in Tacoma, and I've been with them for 25 years.
How many unique titles, positions have you had along the way?
Probably 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah. I started with the company. They were just a baby and had some significant growth the first 5 to 10 years that I was with them. But I've had the last title, the same position for about the last 12 years.
So take it things are going well. Yeah.
Things are going really well. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Well, congratulations.
Wow.
25 years.
I know.
That's really outstanding.
I can't fathom that.
Yeah, Shane just turned 25 last month.
You're not wrong.
This is happening. So
Yeah.
so next time you walk into the office on Monday, and in celebration of your 25 years, over the intercom, your walk-up music is what? As you're coming in the parking lot, the front door's open, you're making your way to your space, and the music playing is
Hallelujah.
Leonard Cohen or
I know. I have no
Messiah?
idea. I'm not into music. So is there a song called, Made It This Far or Lasted This Long? Or I'm more into sounds. So it'd be like the sound of
okay, what was the sound be?
trumpets or drum.
Like oh no. Oh, Shane.
Those kind of trumpets.
just the opposite of that.
I'm picturing
Yeah. Victory bells or victory. Yeah.
some very regal royal trumpet.
I was imagining like the Hallelujah chorus, like hallelujah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that at a baseball game. As walk-up music.
Yeah.
It's always a first for something.
That's right. That's right.
I went to a minor league baseball game in Omaha one time as a day game. The Memphis Redbirds, which is the Cardinals AAA club, was in town, and I didn't know it was like school kid day, and so there were just buses and buses of kids everywhere. And I don't know if it was walk-up music or just the DJ was having fun, but he played the intro to SpongeBob SquarePants, which I didn't know what that was. And all of a sudden, just thousands of kids started screaming at the top of their lungs, out of their minds, and I almost left. It just in that moment, like I just want to watch a baseball game. I thought it'd be relaxing. It was like a day game, and they played SpongeBob, and that was too much for me.
Yeah, if you said there's just hordes of kids at a game, that would have been a no for me.
Yeah, I moved sections more than once. I was like, nope, too much screaming here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, Shane, what's the title of our series?
I guess it's
Theater at Church?
Theater in a Church?
Theater in a Church?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's a somewhat unique thing. Maybe, let me say this. It's probably unique in that I think it's done well here. I think churches might be the venue for lots of artistic expressions, but I don't think the church has a reputation, at least in recent decades, for doing art with quality. Is that, Tammy, is that your perception as well? I don't know. I don't know to put words in your mouth. That's just my observation.
It is. Growing up, I found the same thing, that churches that we had belonged to or went to had mostly children's productions, children's plays, camps. But yeah, I mean that's why I'm here. I came back in 1990. I mean before 2000, because we joined in 1999.
Over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And saw production. It was really well done. And it was like, wow. And I grew up with live theater. It was one of those things that I loved as a kid. And we always had Broadway tickets to season, series tickets to whatever was coming. And yeah, so it was like, wow, that's neat. And it was done well. And it was, yeah.
I remember in Omaha, our church staff took a day to just kind of have fun together and be together. And we went and saw a movie, and I didn't know what movie it was. And it ended up being a Christian movie, which isn't bad. I think they can be really good. But in the middle of it, it was just starting to get kind of hokey. And I remember one of the staff members turned and was like, "Oh man, is this a Christian movie?" Like we're church staff, and we're like, "Dang it!" Like, God, like, we could have seen 42 that's playing in the next theater, and we're seeing this instead. And whether it's music or visual art or performing arts, I think in a lot of spaces today, when the church does that, it doesn't necessarily do it at the high level, which is discouraging and disappointing, especially historically. I think the church has been a significant patron of some of the best art. Of a variety, maybe not theater necessarily, but I think of choral music or paintings or orchestral things, just symphonic things. I think music and paintings especially, I think church has had a significant hand, but I don't know about theater or drama.
No, I tend to agree.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back far enough, the oratorio, it's like the Christian opera, but like they only restricted it to like music only, no acting. Yeah. So it's interesting, like the history of that. So
and even like passion plays, I guess, are another kind of dramatic, but primarily just retelling a biblical narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like the real theater, like acting part of it is something newer, I guess. I don't know. But But what you were saying before when you saw the production at St. Luke's, do you remember what you saw? Or did you see it or were you part of it?
No, I just saw it.
Okay.
We had just, my husband's best friend at the time was the ETL president here at the time, Scott Fisher, and invited us to church. And we came and saw the announcement for the production coming up within the next month or so. And it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought, okay. I was kind of questioning what kind of a production, but I came and was just knocked out of my seat. I mean, it was like I left and I drug as many people as I could the next weekend because it was so well done. And it was I was in awe. It was really neat. And that's really what brought us here. And then the next, we started coming here. Then the next year we went through membership and didn't really start getting into behind the scenes until my daughter Kaylin was, she was born in 98 until about 2005. And she auditioned for Loretta for the Wizard of Oz. Oh, and so, nice. And it was one of those things where, I grew up in theater and I'm not very outgoing. I'm an introvert. And it's one of those things that I think it's really, my parents, I wouldn't say they pushed, but they pushed me into it as a way to just act and just get used to being on stage and being in front of people and just talking with people without being so shy, I guess, know. And so I wanted the same thing for my daughter, who is also very shy at that age. And it's like, you're going to love this. You're going to do great. And and so it was, I got bit by the parent bug at that point and had time on my hands and offered to help. And
well, it's interesting that you talk about, being shy and speaking, and because I think probably a lot of people, when they think about theater or live performances, they maybe immediately think of people on stage. But it seems like, and again, this is not part of my knowledge background, but I get the sense that there's tons of people not on stage who don't do any speaking or acting or memorizing, but are absolutely essential to making it happen. So when you were signed up, maybe passively, for some, as you were introduced to theater as a young person, it was acting and it wasn't set building or other things.
No, at that point it was being on stage. It was acting or doing whatever, the plays were. I was in A&E. I was in The Music Man. As a little one, not a teen at that time. As a little one. A family member, part of the ensemble. Yeah. But it was to be on stage, and I really never got into the backstage part of it, or the props or the set building or anything like that, until I actually took theater in high school. And as part of production or theater, you had to learn all of those different parts.
It's like a class, or it was a
it was a class during it was an extracurricular class during high school theater production. And at that point I kind of learned, there's more to this than just being on stage. I mean, I always knew that there was, it takes a village to do anything, right? Including a show. And so it was at that point that I learned about all of the different people that were involved, and, the lights and the sound and, the props and the set building. And yeah.
So what kept you coming back after initial exposure as a shy girl who is now performing on stage? What was it that said, maybe more of this?
The community, the friends, the community, how it made me feel. I wasn't as shy as I was. I think still in groups of people, I chose to keep within 2 to 3 people, and I was never like the life of the party or anything like that. But on stage, you could be somebody else for a time period, and that doing that over and over, I guess, built up the confidence that I can talk in front of people. I can be around people. It might be uncomfortable, but I can do it. And so as a child, and so, that was middle school and high school. And so that really helped with getting up in front of the English class and reciting a poem. Whereas before, I think I would turn beet red and break out in hives. So it really helped. And so I think, I just knew that when I had children in the future, I wanted that same thing for my kids, because it's a safe place. It's a great place for kids to learn their voice, whether it's singing or dancing, or whether it's just sitting on stage as part of the ensemble. I think it's just it's a safe environment for kids to just learn that they can do anything. They can be anything. They can, And even though they might not have the greatest voice, or think that they might not have the greatest voice, they sound awesome when it's with a group of 25 other people, and then they look back on that and think, wow, so.
That's the awesome part about theater. It's just, even if you have the smallest role, you soak up every bit of that time that you're on stage. Like, even though you're just like the side character in the background, be that best background character you can be. And I remember that was a big motivator for me when I was in high school too. Like, I was a guy sorting through cabbages. Like, that was my role. But I was so invested in these cabbages in the background, and it just gave me so much thrill and confidence. Like, even as a freshman in high school, having that role. I very much relate. Yeah.
I don't know if it was Loretta or Lee Howard, her husband. One of them talks about, and they say it pretty much before every performance or once during the series to the cast and crew. And it's something like, you never know who you're going to impact in that audience, what kind of a day they've had, what kind of a year they had, what's going on in their life, but you never know who you're going to impact and how you're going to impact them. I can't remember who it was. And they said that it didn't matter if it was a group of 25 people on stage or if it was just one person on stage. It may have been Lee, because I think he was in a 1 or a 2 member cast at one point. But it's it didn't matter how many people were on stage. You still had to be who you were and and smile and do your thing. And Kaylin heard that for the first time. She was 5 years old. Oh. And she was a lullaby league little girl. So she didn't have really any parts. She sang. She was one of 3 little girls in a ballerina dress who just twirled on stage and had no lines. They may have sang a song, but I will never forget. She came out of that show and we had a bus from one of the senior living facilities bussed a bunch of people in for an afternoon matinee. And one of the elderly ladies in a wheelchair beckoned Kaylin over in her little tutu outfit after the show. And the lady gave her a flower and she just... It made Kaylin's day, and she said, "You were so cute on stage. You reminded me of my grandbabies, and I haven't seen my grandbabies in so long." And Kaylin just had this huge smile, and she carried that. I think it was a carnation. She carried around that carnation for days. You know, nobody was coming to see her, but this lady just made her day. Aww. And I think that was the first time. I wasn't even involved in that show, but I think that was the first time that I really felt, wow. This is really bringing joy, hope, just something to the community. And I really saw it at that point. At the time, the church had a tagline that we were, bringing Christ to the community or just engaging with the community more. And it was at that point that I really saw, wow, this is neat. This, because you're right, you never know how you're going to impact somebody or who you're going to impact or what kind of a life they're living right now. But it was really neat. It brought tears to my eyes at the time because I saw this little 5-year-old just go home and carry around this carnation for days. Oh. She slept with it.
Awesome. Is she still involved in?
She is. She's behind the scenes. So she was in productions for a while and she thought, no, I like behind the scenes more. And so she went into props, and now she's basically what Loretta would call the backstage manager. Okay. So she is backstage. So she comes to some of the rehearsals right now, but she will become more involved the closer we get to Tech Week. She will start backstage and manage, which means she manages all of the people that have backstage entrances or exits and manages all the props that sit back there or anybody that has costume changes back there. She manages all of that.
Okay.
Does a wonderful job. So.
I'd love to ask some kind of logistic questions about that.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Also, you said Tech Week, which makes me think we should probably say clearly when the fall show is here. If you happen to be in Western Washington in the Federal Way area here at St. Luke's, when is the show? What is the show?
The show is The Music Man, and it is the first 2 weekends of November. So I think it's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then the following weekend, the 11th and 12th or something like that.
All right. Shane will put the details in the description below, perhaps.
Yeah.
Friday night, Saturday, Friday night at 7 p.m. Saturdays are at 1:30, and then again at 7 p.m. And then the first weekend, or the second weekend, we have a Sunday show.
Cool. And I know they can get tickets online.
They can call the office.
Okay.
Or find a cast member.
All right. So, okay, I want to go back to behind the scenes here.
Yes.
And I don't think this is like any kind of spoilers, but I want to think through. So I've read plays before, like in high school, where we get the book or you get a Shakespeare. You're working through the script, but in terms of prop list or entrance and exits, when you buy the rights to put on a show, I'm assuming it doesn't come with any of the detail work, right?
When you buy the right, no. There are some things that you have to do.
Okay.
Or you have liberty to change some things.
Okay.
So we are changing a few things in our production. But in terms of
like a prop list or a set list or stage,
you have creativity to do your own backdrop or set design. So it can be very minimalistic, meaning nothing but flats on the stage. Or you can have a lot of different, depends on how big your stage is or your theater is, how much money you have. because if funds were unlimited and you have a large enough space, you could have room by room by room instead of doing it through. We do a lot of room changes or scene changes through props or furniture displays.
Yeah. And so is it the director's job to make all those decisions, to read the script and say, all right, we're going to bring in 2 chairs here and a wardrobe here and a mirror here and a ball here, or whatever things are, and just to just sort of out of their own imagination or familiarity with the script?
Yeah. Yeah. In our case, that's Loretta, and she's incredibly creative that way. She can read a script. And of course, she's seen a lot of these plays or productions done elsewhere. But she tries to put her own spin on things, make it hers or make it ours. And yeah. And even though she's done things like we've done The Music Man twice here now.
I think I've heard that.
The set design this time is going to be completely different. Now we have the prop list from last time, so we're using a lot of the same props. And when I say props, like men's pocket watches or a basket of laundry or the tables or the benches for the train, some of those can change, but and the set design definitely how the flats look and how the city looks. And
then during the show, are the actors themselves helping with this? Is it all stagehands?
Yes and yes. Okay. Depends on what show, how many stagehands, and how many props we have. This is a very intense prop show, so we have more stagehands than we normally would. We have about 4 to 6 people additionally that will come on probably right before Tech Week, and we'll start training them into where they're going to be and what props they're in charge of and which characters they're in charge of. And we have a lot of plays only have like one cast and one costume, a 1-to-1 ratio. This production, most people have 2 costumes.
Okay.
Or some sort of a costume change or an add-on or a subtract.
Okay.
Lots of hats, lots of... Yeah. So there's lots of pieces to keep track of this time. Yeah.
Are there certain personality types that are better suited for being a stagehand behind the scenes, running around a person, and certain types that maybe wouldn't be a good fit?
Yes. I think you need to be really focused. You need to stay on task, have a great schedule.
Sorry, Shane.
Know exactly what you're supposed to be doing at all times. Yeah, I think it takes so
you can't daydream back there.
Oh, no.
You can't check the score of the game.
No, you cannot daydream. Yeah. Which reminds you got to keep track of your people too and make sure that your people are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be. And if you're missing one, we all have headsets and we'll call around and saying, have you seen Luke? Oh, Luke's in the hallway reading his book.
Naturally.
He missed an entrance a couple of years ago and I don't think we'll ever live it down.
Entrance for like the actual performance?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. It was a role that it wasn't nearly, Loretta noticed, of course, but nobody else noticed. But yeah, he had to just run around to the back and come in through the back.
Oh.
So, yeah. I think you just have to be very detailed, focused, and be able to stay on task and manage a large group of people and tell people, nope, get out of the way. You're in the wrong space. And you need to, so you have to be willing to tell people where they're supposed to be.
Be assertive?
Yes, be assertive. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because come showtime, it's always cool seeing like you and Jeanette and all the different hands like with headsets and like, all right, we need this, and like they're like on the communications and just everybody's running around. It's very
It's amazing how many people it takes to put on a great show. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of thought, and like I said, Loretta's been working on this for months, if not the last year. So by the time we actually get to the point where we're starting rehearsals, everything's on paper and we just have to start executing and
working with everybody else's schedule.
Yes.
So Shane, you call it Theater in a Church? Is that right? Theater in the Church? What was the name?
Theater in a Church.
Theater in a Church. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tammy, what does that in a church mean to you? Why? I wonder, that might sound different to different listeners of a church goer might be wondering, why is a church doing this? And a non-church goer might be going, I don't know if I want to go to theater in a church.
Well, it's one of those things that I think St. Luke's has made a name for themselves over the last decade or two, especially not only with theater, but with arts in general. You know, we used to have the symphony here, and that brought in a different type of person. But it was really, I think once you get here and see whether it's a concert or a production, if they don't have a church home, and I remember too, the first play I saw, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Pastor Vic got on stage, and he basically said, if you don't have a church home, we'd love to see you on Sunday. If you have any questions, come find me. And that's all he said. And like I said, my husband knew Scott Fisher at the time, but it was that's why we came. It was like, wow, they're doing something. They're bringing the community in. But I thought it was going to be cheesy to get back to why it was, why in a church. I thought, this is going to be cheesy. My husband didn't want to go. He stayed home. He said, no, I don't want to go. You can go. So I went by myself and just loved it. Like I said, brought hordes of people back the next weekend. But I think too, it's when you think of in a church, it brings preconceived ideas or notions. It's like, okay, how you can't envision it. And until you've been to a production here at St. Luke's, you can't envision it. In fact, Loretta tells new people, you have no idea. Just wait until set build and that first night of tech when you walk onto stage or even walk into the sanctuary, because it's transformed. But I think we do a really good job of reminding cast team members that this is a church and this is a sacred place, and that and we kind of get everybody involved. And so I think it's a great, I keep coming back to that community. It's just a great and other people might have other home churches, which is great, but like going back to the parent, my kids met a lot of other kids even from other churches and other communities because of, and as a parent, I was always wanting to make sure that my kids were around other
good people,
good parents. Yeah. It just, my kids were in public school, and I tried to volunteer as much as I could in public school, but a lot of times you don't get the opportunity to really meet parents. And, you don't watch, your job is to watch your kids and make sure that they're hanging with people that they should be hanging with, and other like-minded values and morals. And so it was a good experience. And I think we met a lot of people through that experience too, friends and parents that we still know to this day because of opportunities through theater here.
Yeah. I don't know who's listening. By the way, thanks for listening and watching if you're joining us. I wonder though, if we talk about, if somebody hears theater in a church, I would imagine that a number of people might assume theater in a church is kind of like a morality play, that its primary purpose is to sort of teach you to be good boys and girls. Is that what The Music Man is about?
I think there's a message there. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what the message is. I think everybody will come away with a different message, but I think, and when I say we, it's Loretta, Jan Grothy, who's our producer here, Danette and I, we come together once a year and talk about the shows that we want to do for the following, 2 to 3 years. And we always try to choose something with a message, whether or not it's a production or not, meaning Godspell or Joseph versus Disney Dazzle or Annie, right? Or
Guys and Dolls.
Oliver, right? Guys and Dolls. But we always try to choose something with a message and clean. I mean, it definitely has to be clean. I think that's the other reason for theater in a church.
It's not a Demon Barber of Fleet Street. But,
oh my gosh. Yes.
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd. Yeah. So I think that's the other reason why people would choose to come to theater in a church or take their kids. We offer that great experience too. You know, when you have a family of 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, going to the theater or a theater, whether it's community theater or Broadway theater, is very expensive. Very expensive. $20 a ticket down in Auburn to $100 a ticket now in Issaquah Village. Yeah. Very expensive. And here at St. Luke's, we offer that opportunity to have that younger generation experience what live theater is for less than a cost of a movie. And
so you said cost. So what is the ticket? Do you recall?
$10. Okay. $10. And we won't turn a family away. If a family of 4 comes in and says, I can't afford $40, well, you know, we're gonna cover it. We're not gonna, So I think it's a great experience for children as well to get that experience of what even live theater is like. And, ooh, I'd like to do that someday. Or, ooh, that's neat. Or just because the arts in general have just become so expensive. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's worth it for you, serving and laboring behind the scenes. This isn't your professional income or your livelihood. Are there moments, or maybe what are the moments where it's like, oh, this is tough? Like, because I assume it's work. Like, it sounds. I'm hearing community and arts and sharing messages and strangers giving you flowers. Like, oh, it's awesome. But I imagine there's times where, like, you know, okay. If Loretta asked me again, like, I know I'm saying yes to this also. What are some of those things that make it hard?
I think it's during the process. Everybody has their tasks, everybody has their jobs. And when you've done it for as long as I've done it with Loretta, I know how she works, I know how she thinks, and we all have our jobs and our tasks. But sometimes when she feels the need to remind people, it's like, or trying to costume 40 people all by yourself in one afternoon, or it's like, it's or when something's not coming together, but it always comes together. And that's why I continue to, I attribute it to giving birth. Okay. Which both of your wives will probably get. It's one of those things that, after strike, it's like, oh, I'm never doing this again. But then sure enough, Loretta will call 6 months later and say, it's time to start thinking about the fall show. And it's like you've forgotten about that 9 months of building a baby and birthing a baby and saying, you're not doing this again. And then 6 months later, you forget about all the sweat, the pain, and the tears, and, the hardship, and say, yeah, it's let's do it. Let's pick a show and let's go. So we always need that break. I think everybody needs that break between productions, but it always comes together.
So it's regularly just been one show a year. There's not like doubled. Like there's a spring show now, and
there's been a couple of years where there's been a spring show, not necessarily in the sanctuary, but in the great room, and they've always been very small, or like a dinner theater or a dessert. But there's only been a couple of years that we've done that, and it typically hasn't been the same director.
Okay.
So yeah.
So maybe we could throw a nice courtesy to our listeners of the podcast here. If somebody's going to come to the show this year, do you have any advice? Is there a difference between opening night and the closing performance? Is there insider tip here of you want to try to sit in this section for this. You'll appreciate this from this angle more, because not everybody's going to listen to this, but I imagine some of our listeners might come to the show, or maybe they're going to listen to this and go, I think I do want to go to the show. So what is Tammy's tip?
Well, Tammy's tip will change after set build.
Okay. All right.
Just because we don't know where things are going to be yet.
Any general advice then?
Well, and this is a large show. This is a cast of 43, 44 people, which is a large cast on the stage. So if you're coming to see somebody specific, make sure you ask that person what side of the stage they're on more than not. If you're coming to see somebody that's, only stays on the right-hand side, but you choose to sit on the left, it's because it is such a large cast, you're not going to see them very much. We have... We haven't announced yet, but we
don't give anything away here. This is I don't want to get yelled at by anybody. I'm already yelled at by too many people, so
no, that's okay.
I'm not responsible for whatever Tammy's about to say.
We will have some golden tickets available, which are basically you get to choose where you want to sit without having to come an hour early and wait in line to get those seats.
So it's open seating.
So it is open seating. Okay. It's general seating, and typically people start showing up, about a half an hour before to get that perfect spot to see.
So if you get here late, I know at church that means you're sitting in the front row.
You're
what does it mean at theater?
Row.
So at theater, if you're late, what does that mean?
Yeah, it means back row or sides. And
so the front will fill up sooner and the back will fill up later.
Yeah, okay. And so our golden tickets will be basically the first 2 rows on each section. We're allowing 2 golden tickets per show, one on the left, one on the right, up to 8 seats.
Okay.
And there will be a cost for that. I'm not sure exactly what the cost is, but it means that you can show up 10 minutes prior. You go have a nice dinner and show up without having to wait in line, and your seats are nice and reserved for you. Yeah.
Not throwing jackets and bulletins and whatever.
No saving seats.
There's an Office reference about the golden ticket, but Shane hasn't seen it, so I'll just keep that to myself.
These Office references, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but in terms of what night or what day, I think it's different with every show, and it's different with the energy level of the cast for each show. A lot of times opening weekend is, that's the time to come because everybody's really excited. But then a lot of times closing night is the time too, because energies you would think would be low, but it's closing night, or closing day in our case, Sunday afternoon. So I'm glad I came that first weekend though, that first show I saw, because I was able to invite more people to come the second weekend. And so for me, it's come the first weekend because if you're
thinking about inviting somebody, there's nothing wrong with doing a little reconnaissance yourself first.
Exactly.
I love that. That's one of the unique things about theater is that it's different every time. The set is the same, the costumes are the same, the actors the same, and the lines are the same, and yet the delivering and the movement each time is different.
Mm-hmm. And the audience is different.
And the audience is different. The reactions.
And so a lot of times the cast, it's been a long time since I've been on stage, but the cast feeds off of the audience. And so if you have a lively audience that's laughing or clapping, or you're going to have a livelier cast. And so it works both ways. And so it's,
So seeing a performance more than once is different than watching a movie or listening to a CD record MP3 more than once.
For sure. Each show can be,
drastically different.
Yeah.
And even so, like with you never know what a cast member is gonna miss a cue or line, and that adds to the entertainment sometimes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Should people know anything about the show before they come? Like if you've never heard of The Music Man, do you watch a trailer? Do you just show up? Is there a synopsis when you get here? Or because am I sitting down for a tragedy, a comedy, an epic?
Well, that's the nice thing about theater in the church. You're not sitting down for a tragedy. Unless you're coming, unless you're coming to a passion play or something. But there's the program we'll talk about
Okay,
it.
so
But it
just show
takes,
up?
yeah, I would just show up. It's one of those things where even I have not watched the previous video from when we did it before, and have not watched. And when my son Tanyan auditioned and is in the production as well, he didn't even know what the Music Man was, and he said, "Should I watch it?" I was like, "Well, it's up to you." It's one of those things, or do you just want to be excited to see it when it all comes together? And but the Music Man itself takes place in 1912. It's a small town in Iowa, and it's a very small community. And this Music Man just comes into town and starts selling instruments to kids. Or
All right. That's a good setup. Right?
It takes place over the 4th of July, 3rd and 4th of July. And
Okay. That's good to have some context, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking for robots battling aliens, this isn't the show for you.
No.
Yeah.
And it's a musical. A lot of people think, is it just a play? No, it's a musical. Right. So there's lots of music, lots of song, lots of dance. Yeah.
And live music?
Live music. Yeah.
Singing and instruments?
Yes. Yeah? Yes.
And emphasis kind of on the brass instruments too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about a band. So
All
putting
right.
together a kids band.
Well, cool. I'm excited. Shane, are you, do you have a role?
I do have a role. I play Marsalis, who is kind of the main character's close friend.
Okay. The cabbage sorter.
The what?
The cabbage sorter?
Cabbage sorter. No cabbage this time.
All right.
Well, I don't know yet, but haven't done too much blocking yet, or like kind of going through lines and stuff. But yeah, so main character is best friend. I'm a little goofy.
Okay.
That's way I can describe it.
Yeah.
He's got a solo. He sings his own song.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a fun song and number to expect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will be there in attendance, audience throughout the
Yay.
couple of weeks. Tammy, thanks for coming in today. Thanks for kind of a little peek into your life and history and talk about theater in general and this particular show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Shane, anything you want to make sure our listeners know about theater in the church or the Music Man here?
Just that shows are the first and second week, November.
Yep.
Check it out. Bring your friends, bring your family. Just have a fun time.
Shane will be signing autographs in the lobby afterwards, giving out 2414 merch. Maybe not.
Maybe. That goes above the work.
All right.
No, but it'll be fun. A lot of fun music that you might that you might hear and say, "I didn't know this was from the musical."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, cool. Come out to live theater. Tammy talked a lot about community within the cast, but also I think being an audience member allows that expression of community as well.
For sure.
You can watch Netflix at home, and I do almost every day, and that's good. But there's something about seeing a show with others and feeling the emotions in the room and mingling at intermission and bumping into the cast afterwards and seeing friends in the community and being introduced to new people that cast gets community, but even as audience, we get to connect as people around a story. And that story speaks to us and moves us and asks different things of us. And maybe you go out for a beer or coffee afterwards and talk through what you heard, and you get to experience ongoing community around the message, whatever that message might be. It might be a question or a challenge or an invitation to consider something that theater speaks to us in some really beautiful ways, and we hope that this show or another live show near you speaks to you and keeps that conversation going as we connect around what matters in life. So Shane, thanks for taking time. Tammy, thanks for taking time.
You're welcome.
This is awesome, and we'll see you all at the Music Man hopefully sometime.
Yeah. Woo.
Thank you.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414 podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.